Alongside his twin brother Jonathan, Drew Scott became one of the most recognizable faces on television, bringing Property Brothers to millions of homes around the world. But then, something changed. Fans began to notice it. Fewer appearances, subtle shifts. And suddenly, questions started building. What happened to Drew Scott? And why does it feel like something isn't being fully explained? Behind the success, there were challenges no one saw coming, moments that didn't make it on camera, and decisions that quietly reshaped his life in ways even longtime viewers didn't expect. So where is Drew Scott today? And what really happened behind the scenes? Before we answer that, we need to go back to the beginning, because his story didn't start the way most people think. Before the cameras, how Drew Scott's story really began. For years, viewers saw Drew Scott and his twin brother Jonathan as the familiar faces of Property Brothers, cracking jokes, transforming homes, and making everything look effortless. But what most people never saw was how far back their journey really goes, and how unlikely their path to success actually was. Drew's story begins in Vancouver, Canada, where he and Jonathan were born in 1978 to Jim and Joanne Scott. Their father played a huge role in shaping their future. He had worked as an actor and stuntman before stepping away from the industry to focus on family life, but that creative influence never disappeared. Growing up, the idea of performing, building, and creating was always around them. Interestingly, real estate wasn't part of the plan at first. In fact, the brothers showed their entrepreneurial side at a very young age. Encouraged by their father to start earning early, they launched their first small business at just 8 years old, making nylon-wrapped hangers and selling them door to door. It may have sounded simple, but it sparked something bigger. When they landed their first bulk order, it gave them a taste of what was possible. As they got older, Drew explored different paths. In high school, he became involved in theater and even worked as a party clown, something that surprisingly became a steady source of income. At one point, he considered pursuing basketball seriously, but injuries forced him to reconsider. What seemed like a setback at the time would later redirect him toward opportunities he hadn't yet imagined. He and Jonathan also followed their father's creative footsteps for a while. Drew took on small acting roles, including work as a body double for Tom Welling on Smallville, along with appearances in shows like Breaker High and Madison. It looked like entertainment might be his future. But everything shifted when they enrolled at the University of Calgary. Like many students, they needed a way to support themselves, and that's when real estate entered the picture. They leased a property, fixed it up, and rented it out to fellow students. What started as a necessity quickly turned into a business model. From there, things grew fast. They began buying, renovating, and selling properties for profit. After dealing with unreliable agents, Drew decided to take control and earned his real estate license. That decision laid the foundation for what would eventually become Scott Real Estate Company. The turning point. From real estate to television. By 2006, Drew Scott began to see things more clearly. Real estate had never been the end goal. It was simply a way to fund the dream he had always carried, a career in entertainment. With that realization, he made a bold decision. He left Jonathan in charge of the growing real estate business and moved to Vancouver to pursue acting more seriously. In Vancouver, Drew immersed himself in classes, auditions, and networking, trying to carve out a place in a competitive industry. But the reality wasn't as smooth as he had hoped. Before long, he found himself struggling financially, and the pressure to stay afloat forced him to rethink his approach. Instead of giving up, he adapted. He launched an extension of Scott Real Estate in Vancouver, turning what had once been a fallback into another success. Meanwhile, the dynamic between the brothers became clearer than ever. Drew's outgoing personality and negotiation skills paired naturally with Jonathan's design and construction expertise. Together, they weren't just selling homes, they were helping people imagine something better. Still, Drew never let go of his bigger vision. Years earlier, in 2002, he and his brothers had already taken steps toward entertainment by founding Davidian Production Group. The idea of blending real estate with television had been quietly forming, and Drew began to see its full potential. Eventually, he and Jonathan pitched a concept to HGTV. At first, producers had something very different in mind, a show called Realtor Idol, modeled after the American Idol format. But the idea didn't take off. As plans shifted, a new concept emerged, something more personal, more relatable. Drew was initially set to host the show alongside a different partner, but he stepped in and suggested bringing Jonathan on board, highlighting his construction background and shared journey. That decision changed everything. The show was renamed Property Brothers, and in 2011 it premiered on HGTV. Almost immediately, it connected with audiences. The concept was simple but powerful. Help families find fixer-upper homes, renovate them within a budget, and turn them into something they could truly call their own. Drew played a key role in that process. He found the properties, negotiated the deals, and guided families through major decisions. But more than that, he brought something harder to define, an ability to connect. He understood the emotions behind every purchase, every renovation, every risk. Because in the end, Property Brothers wasn't just about houses. It was about people and the lives they were trying to build inside them. When success met uncertainty. From the very beginning, Property Brothers had a formula that simply worked. Viewers were drawn in by the excitement of house hunting, the chaos of demolition, and the emotional payoff of seeing a dream home revealed at the end. But what truly made the show stand out wasn't just the design. It was the human stories behind it. That connection resonated deeply, and for Drew Scott, it meant something even more personal. He had finally found his place on screen. It may not have been the exact path he once imagined, but it became something just as meaningful. Real estate, which had started as a practical way to make ends meet, ended up merging perfectly with his passion for entertainment. And as the show grew, so did its impact. The success of Property Brothers quickly expanded into something much bigger. Spin-offs like Property Brothers Forever Home brought a fresh angle, focusing on families who wanted to transform the homes they already loved. Brother vs. Brother added a competitive twist, letting Drew and Jonathan go head-to-head in a way fans hadn't seen before. Then came Celebrity YOU, where Hollywood stars joined the brothers to surprise loved ones with life-changing renovations, adding a new level of excitement and star power. Behind it all, Scott Brothers Entertainment kept building, turning a single idea into a full-scale television empire. Season after season, the show maintained its momentum, attracting a loyal and growing audience. By the time the 7th season premiered in 2019, the brothers seemed unstoppable. But that's when things began to shift. Fans started to notice that Drew wasn't as present as before. His absence sparked rumors. Some believed there was tension between the brothers. Others speculated something more serious was going on. The uncertainty only grew as questions went unanswered. Then, later in 2019, Drew addressed it himself. He revealed that he had been dealing with health issues, and even doctors were still trying to understand what was happening. It was a moment that caught many off guard. The man who had spent years helping others build stable, beautiful lives was now facing uncertainty in his own. For Drew and his family, it was a difficult period filled with unanswered questions. At one point, even he didn't know how serious the situation might be. And for fans, it was a reminder that behind the success, behind the polished image on television, Drew Scott was facing challenges just like anyone else. The illness that changed everything. In 2019, Drew Scott finally revealed what few people had known. He had been quietly battling a mysterious illness for more than a year. What began as what felt like a lingering flu slowly turned into something far more serious. He experienced constant fatigue, digestive issues, and an intense sensitivity to heat that made even normal daily activities difficult. At times, he couldn't handle physical exertion at all and had to rely on multiple medications just to get through the day. As his condition worsened, it began to affect every part of his life. Filming became impossible, forcing him to step away while Jonathan carried the show alone. But for many viewers, something felt missing. The dynamic that had made Property Brothers so engaging was no longer the same, and fans began to worry that this might signal the beginning of the end. Drew, meanwhile, chose to be open about his struggle, sharing updates on social media that revealed not just his physical symptoms, but also his fear and frustration. What made the situation even more unsettling was the uncertainty. For a long time, even doctors couldn't give him clear answers. Test after test led to conflicting possibilities, ranging from mercury poisoning to chronic fatigue syndrome. With no definitive diagnosis, the fear grew, because without knowing the cause, there was no clear path to recovery. Fortunately, after months of testing and treatment, Drew's condition gradually improved. His recovery didn't come overnight, but it marked a turning point. The experience left a lasting impact on him, reshaping how he viewed his health and priorities. He became more vocal about the importance of self-care, encouraging others to pay attention to both their physical and mental well-being. Eventually, he returned to the show, bringing back the energy and chemistry that fans had missed. The love that kept him grounded. Away from the cameras, Drew's personal life told a very different story, one defined not by uncertainty, but by stability. In 2010, during a night out in Los Angeles, he met Linda Fan. At the time, she wasn't part of the entertainment world, and that difference may have been exactly what made their connection work. Their bond wasn't built on fame, but on shared interests like travel, creativity, and a genuine sense of curiosity about life. As their relationship grew, it became clear that they balanced each other perfectly. Drew's outgoing and energetic personality was complemented by Linda's thoughtful and independent nature. She wasn't drawn to the spotlight, but she understood his world and supported him without losing her own identity. Together, they built a relationship grounded in trust, respect, and a shared sense of adventure. After 8 years together, Drew decided to take the next step. In 2018, they married in a romantic ceremony in Italy, surrounded by family and close friends. The wedding, later featured in a TLC special, gave fans a rare glimpse into a more personal side of his life. But beyond the celebration itself, what stood out most was the strength of their connection, something that would later prove invaluable during the most uncertain chapter of his life. A new chapter: family, success, and what comes next. In 2022, Drew Scott's story took on a deeper meaning with the birth of his son, Parker James Scott. Fatherhood introduced a new side of him, one that went beyond television and business. Despite a demanding schedule, he made it clear that family came first. Through occasional glimpses on social media, it became evident that he and Linda had built a life centered on balance, support, and genuine happiness. Linda stepped into motherhood with the same strength and independence that had always defined her. While continuing her own successful career, she embraced family life without losing her identity. Together, they formed a partnership that felt grounded and real. Two individuals thriving in their own fields, yet fully committed to supporting each other. Their relationship wasn't just about success. It was about building something lasting. With his health struggles behind him, Drew returned to his work with renewed focus. Property Brothers continued to grow, maintaining its place as one of the most recognizable shows in home renovation television. But he didn't stop there. New projects were announced, including Backed by the Bros, where Drew and Jonathan help entrepreneurs navigate high-stakes investments, and Don't Hate Your House with Property Brothers, focused on transforming homes people had nearly given up on. A new season of Celebrity IOU also promised even more emotional and impactful stories. Beyond television, Drew's ambitions continued to expand. Through Scott Brothers Entertainment, he and Jonathan built a production company responsible for a wide range of successful shows, from The Great Give Back to Trixie Motel and Drew's Dream Car. At the same time, Drew remained passionate about sustainability, often incorporating eco-friendly ideas into renovation projects, proving that modern living and environmental responsibility can go hand in hand. Looking ahead, he showed no signs of slowing down. Between television, writing, business ventures, and family life, Drew Scott continued to evolve. No longer just a TV personality, but a figure defined by resilience, growth, and purpose. And when you step back and look at everything Drew Scott has been through, the success, the uncertainty, the health scare, and the life he's built today, it raises a bigger question. Was his journey really as perfect as it once seemed, or was there always more going on behind the scenes? Let us know what you think in the comments below. What part of Drew's story surprised you the most? And if you want more deep dives into the real stories behind your favorite stars, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss what's really going on behind the spotlight.